1863, Henry was born in Michigan, and in 1879, before working in a factory in Detroit, then Henry stayed at his family's farm, where he later attended to work for Edison Illuminating Company. In 1888, in Henry's hometown of Greenfield Township, he found himself a woman, which he married. They lived in Detroit, Michigan. 1896. The quadricycle was the first automobile which Henry invented, and it has got its spicy name because it has four wheels. He promoted it by riding it in the streets of Detroit. In 1899, Henry was promoted to chief engineer in Detroit Automobile after quitting his last job with the Edison Illuminating Company. 1901. Ford opened his first car company in 1901, but he quickly resigned when there was a dispute among the bankers. In 1902, it became the Cadillac Motor Car Company. In 1903, Henry Ford opened a second motor car company, calling it the Ford Motor Company. The first car produced was the Model A. In 1908, Henry Ford began producing the Model T. It quickly became famous. In 1913, Ford set up the first automobile assembly line, and the cars were made faster and cheaper than ever. 1918, Henry Ford set out for the U.S. Senate, but he was turned down. 1921. By 1921, Ford Motor Company was putting out more than 55% of the cars in the country. 1926. Ford decided to focus his efforts on more than just cars, and it ended up with an airplane called the Tri-Motor Plane. In 1832, Henry Ford successfully put out his first V8 engine. It was the V8 Ford. In 1948, in spite of his early attempts to keep the company out of the Union, Ford Motor Company joined the UAW in 1941. And then, disappointingly, in 1947, Henry died in his home at the age of 83. He was the dedicated, hard worker who used his ideas to change America.
History of Ford. Establishment. Ford Motor Company was established in 1903. At the beginning, only a few cars were produced per day at the Ford factory on Mark Avenue in Detroit, where each car was collected by 2 or 3 men using carts ordered from other companies. The first car was sold in July 23, 1903. In 1908, Henry Ford realized that his dream of producing a car that was both cheap and effective could come true, namely the famous Model T, which was the starting point for a whole new era in the passenger transport.
Fordism is a concept named after the way Henry Ford started producing the Ford T in the start of the 20th century. The concept revolves around industrialized mass production and evolved the already widespread use of assembly lines. Fordism distributed all the previously big tasks into smaller ones and made them easier to do. The workers was assigned an easy task which helped speed up the production and reduce the time of making a car to half of the original time. Breaking the production into smaller parts also ensured that the car parts would fit all 4 Ts produced. With the production time cut in half, the price of every 4 T dropped, and even though the car was cheaper than others to start off with, it made it possible for normal families to afford a car. With the lowered cost of producing a car, Henry Ford also doubled the wages of his employees, making them able to buy a car themselves. So with the Fordism concept, Henry Ford started spreading out the car as the most used way of transportation, which it still is today. On top of doubling the wages of his employees, Henry Ford also made the workday an hour shorter. This wasn't normal at the time, and Henry Ford is one of the big profiles in American industrial history to do something for the working class.